I never thought I'd end up here, honestly. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for almost 10 years. We met in college, got married 2 years after, and for a long time, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. We had our ups and downs, like everyone does, but I never suspected that things were this bad behind closed doors. Things started feeling a little off about 6 months ago. Lisa had always been a bit bitchy, quick to dismiss my opinions, sarcastic at times, but I brushed it off as her usual attitude. She's always been a bit of a woman who loves to have control, and I figured maybe stress from work or something. But then she started working late more often, saying it was important meetings or dealing with clients. She'd come home tired, distant, sometimes even cold. I'd ask her how her day was, and she'd brush me off with some excuse, like she didn't want to deal with my questions. That's when I first started noticing the little things. Her phone always by her side, always on silent, her avoiding eye contact when I tried to talk to her in bed. She'd suddenly get calls or texts at odd hours and she'd rush to answer or hide her phone. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something was definitely brewing. Still, I kept telling myself I was overreacting. Maybe she was just stressed or busy. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Then, about a month ago, I found something that threw me for a loop. I was in the bathroom doing my thing and I noticed her phone sitting on the nightstand. I've never really checked her stuff before. I guess I thought I trusted her, but that day I just felt curious. I picked it up, unlocked it with her thumbprint, and scrolled through her messages. And that's when I saw it. An open conversation with someone named Jake. At first, I thought it was just a friend, maybe a coworker. But then I read what they were saying. It wasn't just friendly banter. It was asterisk, hot asterisk. There were explicit messages, talk about sex, plans to meet up, and even references to lying about where she was when she was out working late. My stomach dropped. I felt like I was punched in the gut. I kept reading, my hands trembling, and I saw her telling Jake she was so horny that she couldn't wait to see him, that she was sick of lying to me. The worst part, she insisted she was at some business conference that night. She kept lying, making me feel like I was crazy. I was so stunned, I couldn't really process it all at once. I just stared at her phone, trying to figure out if I'd misread something or if this was just some stupid joke. But it was. It was real. She was cheating on me with my best friend, Jake. My mind kept circling back to that. Best friend, Jake. The guy I've known since we were all in college, the guy I thought I could trust. I didn't confront her right away. I was paralyzed, just sitting there staring at her phone, the images flooding my mind. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. I kept asking myself how long this had been going on, how I missed all the signs, how she could lie to me like that. It was like my entire world had been turned upside down in a single night. And yet, I knew. I couldn't keep quiet. I had to face her. I had to know what the hell was going on. The next morning, I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't live with this secret anymore, especially not knowing she'd been lying right to my face. I waited until she was in the kitchen, pouring herself coffee, acting like everything was normal. I took a deep breath and sat down across from her, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lisa," I said, my voice a little hoarse, "we need to talk." She looked up at me, her eyes narrowing just slightly, like she knew she was about to get caught, but she played it cool. "What's up, babe?" she said with that fake sweet tone she usually uses when she's trying to deflect. I pulled out her phone and silently placed it on the table. "I saw your messages with Jake," I said plainly. Her face froze for a second, then she rolled her eyes, scoffing. "Oh, come on, Mike, that's bullshit. You're overreacting. It's just some stupid texts. He's just a friend, I swear." I shook my head. No, I read everything, the explicit stuff. Plans to meet up. How you said you were at a conference but you were with him. How long has this been going on? I could feel the anger boiling inside me, but I kept my voice as calm as I could. She laughed, a bitter, dismissive laugh. "Really? You think I'd cheat on you? You're so insecure. Maybe if you weren't so paranoid, I wouldn't have to go behind your back to get some fun." Her words hit harder than I expected. I felt a flicker of rage, but mostly just sadness. "Fun?" I repeated, voice trembling. "Is that what this is, fun? Or are you just using me and everyone else to get your kicks?" Her eyes flashed with anger. "You're such a fucking joke, Mike. I work my ass off. I don't have time for your stupid questions, Jake. Just what? I interrupted. Just a friend who you're screwing behind my back, who you're lying to me about during our anniversary trip, Lisa. Her face twisted into something ugly. She stood up, storming over to the fridge to get more coffee. You think I'm cheating on you? You're delusional, maybe. You should look in the mirror and ask yourself what you're doing wrong. That was the moment I realized she was completely unrepentant, willing to throw me under the bus just to deflect her own guilt. That's when I snapped. I told her I knew everything and that I was done. I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was being lied to, betrayed by the woman I loved and her so-called best friend. I told her I needed space to think and that I was going to stay with my parents for a while. She scoffed again, acting like I was overreacting, like I was the crazy one. But I was. I knew I'd just uncovered the tip of the iceberg. It hit me then, how alone I'd been feeling for months, how much I trusted her, only to find out she'd been playing me for a fool. The shock, the hurt, the feeling of betrayal, it was overwhelming. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it coming, how someone I'd shared everything with could do this to me. It was like my entire world had shattered in that moment. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for believing we had something real. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing over everything, the secret texts, her lies, Jake's involvement. I kept replaying that moment when I confronted her, wondering if I'd done the right thing. Deep down, I knew I couldn't just forget this, that I had to decide what was next. I knew I couldn't stay with someone who so easily threw our marriage away for sex and lies. The pain was raw, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I was done being the fool. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a kind of numbness I'd never experienced before. I moved out of the house, not because I wanted to, but because I knew I couldn't stay there and pretend everything was okay. I stayed at my parents' place, trying to piece my mind back together. Every time I thought about her, Lisa lying to me, sneaking around, calling Jake, the one who actually cares about me, I felt sick. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way she dismissed everything I felt, like my feelings were a joke. I kept asking myself what I did wrong. Was I not enough? Did I miss all the signs? I replayed every conversation, every smile, every time she brushed me off or seemed distracted. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about me. This was Lisa's choice. She wanted to cheat, wanted to lie, and wanted to keep her little secret. And Jake, that bastard, I trusted him like a brother, and now I saw him for what he truly was, a snake. I got drunk one night, sitting alone in my old apartment, staring at the phone, wondering if I should even bother reaching out to her. Part of me wanted to hear her explain herself, but another part knew she'd just lie again. That's exactly what she did when I called. She answered with that bitchy tone, acting like I was overreacting, like I was some jealous loser. She accused me of going through her phone, like I was some stalker. She said, "You're crazy, Mike. You're just jealous because I'm the one who actually cares about sex and fun. You're boring." That was the moment I realized she had completely twisted everything. She really believed her own lies, that she was the victim, that I was the one in the wrong. That made me angrier. How could someone be so selfish? How could she justify her cheating, her screwing around with my best friend, and then turn around and call me the bad guy? I didn't understand it then, and I still don't. All I knew was I felt humiliated, betrayed, and so damn stupid for trusting her. I decided I couldn't just walk away without doing something about it. I wanted to hurt her the way she'd hurt me. I wanted her to realize what she'd lost, what she'd thrown away for sex with Jake. So I started planning my revenge, but not in some petty way. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be played for a fool. I had to make her regret all of it, every bit of her lies and manipulation. I started gathering evidence, not just for the breakup, but to make her see what I knew she'd been doing. I wanted her to feel the same pain I felt, hell, maybe even more. Meanwhile, Lisa kept up her act, texting me, pretending she was worried about me, saying she wanted to work things out. Yeah, right, but I saw through it. I knew she was just trying to save face, to keep me from walking away completely. She kept saying she loved me, that she'd never do it again, that she was so sorry, but I didn't buy any of it. I was done being naive. I knew her game now. She was a bitch and she was good at hiding it behind her bitchy attitude and lies. I made up my mind. I was going to make her pay for what she'd done. Not just for the cheating, but for the years I spent trusting her, believing in us. I wanted her to feel the pain of betrayal, the loss of someone she thought was so easy to manipulate. I wasn't going to do anything reckless, at least not yet, but I was going to make sure she knew I wasn't going to be a pushover. I had enough. I'd been humiliated enough. That's when the real plan started forming in my mind. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into gathering evidence. I knew Lisa would never admit to anything outright, but I wasn't going to let her keep fooling me. I installed a keylogger on her phone and monitored her texts. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, just enough to catch her if she brought Jake over again. I even managed to get access to her email account, scouring her messages for more clues. I wasn't proud of what I was doing, but after everything she'd put me through, it felt like the only way to protect myself from being blindsided again. Meanwhile, Lisa kept up her act. She'd send me the "I love you" texts claiming she wanted to fix things, that she was genuinely sorry, but I could see through her lies now. Her apology was just a way to keep me hooked, keep me from walking away for good. I knew her guilt was eating her up, but her ego was too big to admit she'd screwed up and lost everything. She'd call me crazy one moment, then beg me to come back the next. The hypocrisy was infuriating. One night I caught her slipping out of the house at midnight. I'd hidden the camera in the living room, and I saw her sneaking out with Jake. They met in the driveway, kissing, touching, acting like they couldn't wait to get away from everyone. I watched it all unfold through the footage I'd recorded. It was like watching a bad movie I was involuntarily part of. I felt the anger surge again, but this time it was mixed with a deep sense of betrayal. They thought I was a fool, but I had all the proof I needed now. That's when I decided it was time for the final confrontation. I waited until she came home the next day, her face flushed from whatever she'd been doing. I was sitting in the living room with everything laid out, her messages, the camera footage, her emails. She walked in, saw the evidence on my laptop screen, and froze. Her eyes darted around, trying to find an excuse, but I didn't let her. "Lisa," I said, voice cold but steady. "I know what you've been doing. I know about Jake, about the secret meetings, the lies. How long have you been screwing around?" Her face twisted into a mixture of guilt and defiance. "It's not what you think, Mike. I was just stressed, and Jake been there for me. It's nothing serious, just sex." She lied again, but I was buying it. Not anymore. I told her I was done, that I'd had enough of her bullshit. I told her I was leaving, that I'd take everything, the house, the car, whatever she wanted, to make sure she understood what she'd lost. Her eyes welled up with tears, but not from remorse. It was that bitchy, manipulative kind of crying she always used when she wanted to guilt-trip someone. She begged me to stay, said she loved me, that she'd change. But I knew better. I'd seen the truth, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. That night I packed my things and left. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, but I knew I couldn't stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. As I walked out the door, she yelled after me, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting. But I didn't look back. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I was free, but I'd never forget what she did or how it made me feel. That whole experience taught me a harsh lesson. Trust is fragile, and when it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the worst, and that revenge, even though it feels righteous in the moment, doesn't really fix the pain. It just leaves a scar that never quite heals. After I left, I knew I needed time to heal, but of course, my mind kept circling back to everything. I couldn't sleep well, kept imagining her with Jake, and questioning all the moments I thought were real between us. The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt even more was knowing how easily Lisa dismissed everything, her lies, her manipulation. She kept acting like I was the crazy one, that I was overreacting. But I knew the truth now, and that truth felt like a weight pressing down on me every single day. I decided I wouldn't let her control my emotions anymore. I started working out, focusing on myself, trying to rebuild the confidence she'd chipped away at. I also reached out to some friends, just to talk and get a reality check. They told me I deserved better, that I should never let someone treat me like that, especially not someone I loved and trusted for so long. Their support helped, but the ache of betrayal still lingered. One thing I realized was how much I'd been ignoring the signs, how I'd blamed myself for her attitude and her distant behavior. But the truth hit me. She was the one who chose to cheat, to lie, to manipulate. I wasn't the problem, she was. And no matter how much I wanted to fix things or believe she'd change, I knew deep down that trust, once broken like that, is nearly impossible to rebuild. I started dating again, not because I was ready for anything serious, but because I needed to feel human again, to remind myself I wasn't just some fool who got played. It was awkward at first, opening up to new people, knowing what I'd been through. But slowly I began to heal. I didn't want to be bitter forever, but I also refused to be naive again. I knew now that some people are just selfish, and when they see someone vulnerable, they take advantage. The real turning point for me was the day I finally looked at myself in the mirror and realized I'd been through hell, but I was still standing. I'd survived something that could have crushed me altogether. And I learned that revenge, in the traditional sense, wasn't worth it. The real victory was in walking away, owning my pain, and moving forward stronger and wiser. Lisa's betrayal taught me the importance of boundaries, trust, and listening to my gut. In the end, I don't hate her. I just feel sorry for her, sorry she'll never know what genuine love feels like or how much she lost. I want other guys out there to know that if you find yourself in a similar situation, don't let it consume you. Protect yourself, look out for the signs, and never ignore that voice inside that's telling you something's wrong. Because once trust is broken in a way like this, it's damn near impossible to fix. But you can survive, you can come out better on the other side, and you can find someone who truly deserves your love. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole experience changed me. It's like I lost a part of myself, but at the same time I gained clarity about what I want, what I don't want, and what I won't tolerate. I learned that no matter how much you love someone, if they're willing to betray you in the worst way, holding on to that love is pointless. Trust has to be earned every day, and once it's shattered, it's almost impossible to put back together. I found out that revenge doesn't really bring peace. It just prolongs the pain. Instead, I focused on moving forward, on building a life where I respect myself and don't accept betrayal. I'll admit, it's been a tough road, and I still have moments where I feel the sting of everything she did. But I also feel a sense of liberation. I no longer question myself or my worth. I see now that I deserve respect, honesty, and someone who genuinely cares. For anyone else going through something similar, here's my advice. Don't ignore the red flags. Trust your instincts. When your gut tells you something, pay attention. Don't let guilt or fear keep you stuck in a toxic situation. And most importantly, don't stay because you're afraid of being alone or because you think you can fix what's broken. Sometimes walking away is the strongest move you can make. It's the only way to truly reclaim your life. So I've moved on slowly, painfully, but surely. I still have scars, but they remind me of how far I've come. I've learned that pain is temporary, but growth is permanent. I will never forget what happened, but I refuse to let it define me. I'll keep trusting myself from now on, and I'll never let anyone treat me like I'm disposable. This was my story, not just about betrayal and revenge, but about resilience, about realizing your worth when everything seems to be falling apart. And if there's one thing I want everyone to take away, it's this. Never let someone else's betrayal rob you of your happiness. You're stronger than you think. Trust yourself, get out when you need to, and never forget that you deserve better.